Derek Chauvin, the former Minneapolis police officer, made his first appearance in the Minnesota court, who was charged with second-degree murder of George Floyd, an African-American from Texas. The brutal killing of Floyd has now led to widespread protests across the United States, with people demanding radical police reforms. And 14 days after brutally murdering George Floyd, Derek Chauvin appeared before Judge Janice Redding for a hearing on George Floyd's murder case. The judge has now set an unconditional bail at $1.25 million or $1 million with conditions which includes being law-abiding, not missing court appearances and surrendering firearms. While the court is hearing the case, protests and a call for disbanding of Minneapolis Police Department is of course gaining momentum. Earlier, 9 members of the Minneapolis City Council had voted to dismantle and defund the city's police department. However, US President Donald Trump has said that there would be no disbanding of police forces in the country. Jacob Frey, the mayor of Minneapolis, also tried to pacify angry protesters and assured them of police reforms, but the mayor opposed the idea of dismantling the department and instead insisted that the police department continues its functions in order to maintain law and order in the city. Let's get in some perspective of what's happening in the United States. Of course, is very monumental. For more details, let's quickly go across to Jagriti Dave, who's joining me live from Washington, D.C. at this hour. Let me begin, Jagriti, with George Floyd's burial, which is all set to take place today. Houston is preparing to bid a final goodbye to Floyd. Do share details of the burial.
Yes, the private service is scheduled for tomorrow in Houston, Texas. Today, as you were saying, there was a public viewing at the church where hundreds of mourners came to pay their respects. And as there was social distancing in place today, so there will be tomorrow. The presumptive Democratic candidate for the presidency, Joe Biden, went to meet George Floyd's family today. And George and the family's lawyer said that Joe Biden showed compassion and that meant the world to the family. He will be sending a video message for the funeral tomorrow. He has said that he wouldn't be attending because of potential disruption caused by his Secret Service detail. But those social distancing measures will continue to be in place for that service tomorrow. And in the wake of his killing, protests have been sparked across the whole of the country. And this, what's happening in the United States, what's happening in that very personal moment tomorrow, has turned into this sort of national conversation about race, about equality, about justice, and policing here in the United States.
Right. You said that, very rightly said, that this has led to a national debate over race and equality. Now, in terms of addressing the systemic problems in policing in the United States, what is the defund police movement all about, and how is US President ensuring that policing concerns are addressed, considering he's just announced that the police department will not be disbanded in Minneapolis?
So the defund the police call, it's a rallying call that many protesters are saying and talking about. Some progressive Democrats are also in favour of. And this is effectively, it can mean many things, but very broadly, it can mean taking funds away from the police and giving them to other services. So instead of giving money, instead of state budgets, instead of budgets being skewed, which many see is skewed in favour of police services, as opposed to, say, mental health services or youth services, some of the money that goes to the police should go to those other services. And that is what those lawmakers that is what the New York City Mayor, Bill de Blasio, has suggested that he has pledged to do, to cut police funding and transfer some of that money to social services and youth services. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean to abolish the police force, although some people some people are calling for that too. But really, defund the police, it's a very broad definition. It could mean many different things. In Minneapolis, lawmakers, 9 out of 12, so that's a veto-proof majority, have vowed that they will dismantle the police department. Now, they've not really said what that means, what they mean by dismantling the police force in Minneapolis. Now, this is a police force that, as well as the incident with George Floyd, they have faced accusations of racism throughout the years. And this idea of tackling systemic racism, many activists and advocates of defunding the police force say that, well, really the issue is that reform isn't working. Something really drastic has to take place for serious change to take place. Now, amongst Democrats tend not to back a defunding movement. Indeed, Joe Biden has said that he doesn't support defunding the police.
Right. Jagriti, the United States Congressional Democrats have also unveiled a sweeping package of legislation to combat the police violence and racial injustice. What happens now, and do share details about this?
Yes, so this move by senior Democrats, this police reform legislation, is really their move to enact wide-sweeping reforms within the police force. So they are suggesting things like banning chokeholds, banning other restrictive measures by the police, trying to make reforms rather than, again, the defunding movement. They will make it easier for victims to sue police officers who've been accused of misconduct, for example. Those are some of the measures that are included in this bill.
Right, Jagriti, thank you so much for sharing all those details and adding perspective to this news story. We'll keep coming back to you as and more developments take place.